Now, it may come as a total shock to you or you may not care at all, but this jabroni you see is not a New Yorker. But there is something that New York does arguably better than anywhere in the world, and while no, it's not their sports teams, it is pizza and bagels. Yummy! If only there was a way to combine these two New York specialties into one special treat. Pizza in the morning, pizza in the evening, pizza at supper time. When pizza's on a bagel, you could eat pizza anytime. If you remember that poorly sung theme song, then congratulations, you're probably a 90s kid just like me and enjoyed rounds of Bagel Bites before a GoldenEye tournament with your buddies. But if this is your first time seeing Bagel Bites, let me fill you in. It's a pizza on a bagel, frozen. Probably comes out way better in the oven, but for time's sake, you just throw these bad boys in a microwave. I don't remember it having this fancy little thing that came in the box back in the day, but it does now, so let's put them on there and throw them in the microwave, and 3 minutes later, they come out not really completely melted, but I was very hungry and I rushed it, but you can see. Sauce, cheese, pepperoni on a bagel. They taste okay. The bread is good for a microwave, but if you put sauce, cheese, and pepperoni on a boot, I'm probably going to go to town, so I am not one to complain. It's still a nice snack, but I am still hungry, and I am ready to make some bagels and bagel bites of my own. So grab yourself a bowl, throw in your lukewarm water, lukewarm so the yeast has something to bloom in quicker. There is the yeast and a pinch of sugar, actually way more than a pinch. These call for a good amount of sugar, and we put the sugar in with the yeast in the water now to make sure that the yeast has something to snack on. It'll look like this dirty, gross water, but it'll smell really good. Let that sit for about 5 to 10 minutes before adding in about half your flour. The recipe I'm going to attach in the notes below. And your salt. Definitely want to wait on the salt so it doesn't conflict with the sugar and bully it into not growing. Then add in the rest of your flour and go to town. This really didn't take that long to knead. I think I did it for about 10 minutes. You start in the bowl, and then once it kind of forms, put it onto your work surface, and you'll see as it goes on, it'll really just pick up everything around it. This bagel dough I felt a little bit drier than say your typical bread dough or like a pasta dough, but it worked out really nice and it came together. And you can see here, this is just me rolling it for about 10 minutes, and it comes together into this nice shape right here, picking up everything on the surface. So don't worry if it feels a little dry in your hands, and it comes out looking something like this. I'm happy with it, so I'm gonna give it a little smack, little spank, throw it around and play with it, and I am happy with this bagel dough. And credit to Sophisticated Gourmet for this bagel recipe that I'm going to attach. I did a half batch, and you'll see what I get here. Grab yourself a clean bowl, put some oil in it so it doesn't stick after our dough proofs. The recipe calls for an hour and a half of proofing till about doubled. I did this for exactly an hour and a half. Again, it's a half batch, and it worked out just fine for me. Cover it with a nice towel, leave it at room temperature to puff up and grow right before your very eyes. Say a little prayer, give it good wishes, read a bedtime story, whatever you want, but let it take its nap. And then after an hour and a half, unveil to see this wonderfully puffed up ball of dough. Basically what you want is if you put your fingers in here, not only does it feel really cool, but it doesn't bounce back all the way. It leaves that indentation, and that's how you know that your dough has proofed and risen enough. And yeah, I'm really happy with this dough. It comes right out of the bowl with no sticking. Here's where you want to divvy it up, and I'm going for two methods here. I'm going to use half of it for bagel bites and make smaller bagels, and then the other half I'm going to go for kind of regular sized bagels. So this one you can see I'm just cutting right down the middle for 2 even pieces. This one I'm going to quarter, figuring that they'll come out like smaller bagels, but it's going to be a fun experiment, and you can really do it however you want. Just make them uniform so they cook evenly. And we're going to get started with our small one here. There's no real rhyme or reason to this, just roll it around like a ball. I just kind of played with it like Play-Doh for a while until it came into this ball. The smoother you make the balls, the easier it's going to be to cook them evenly and have like this perfect appearance. Personally, I don't really care about a perfect appearance. I didn't make them perfectly smooth balls, and it didn't affect anything. I'll actually show you the imperfections came out kind of cool later on when we cooked them. But when you have these rolled into your balls, now it's time to shape them into bagels. This part's really easy, really fun. You can work it on a table, you can work it around your finger, but basically just poke a hole right down the middle with your thumb, your finger, whatever you want, and just work it around in a circular motion until you get this kind of shape. Yeah, it's a bagel. I mean, it looks like a bagel to me, so just have fun playing with it. You can see me do it here one more time. Have fun with it. Making dough with your hands, it's fun, it's easy. And yeah, you can see me acting like a complete goofball having a good time. This is what they look like after you roll out the 4 of them and make them bagel shaped. I put them on a parchment sheet, And then I'll repeat the same exact process with our larger bagel doughs. Really the exact same thing. This was just as easy to shape, if not maybe a little bit easier because they were big. And you can see I left a huge hole for our regular bagels. For our Bagel Bites, not as big of a hole because I don't want the sauce completely falling through. Minor detail there. But if you've never made homemade bagels before, hopefully this shows you there's nothing to be intimidated about. They're easy, they're fun, it's a lot easier than you'd probably think. And it even made me dance, but these suckers are ready to cook. Almost. We're going to get our water boiling, and while our water is boiling, I'm going to cover our finished bagels here with a towel to let them proof for about another 10 to 15 minutes, just a very quick proof. You don't even have to cover them, I just like to. That's water that I brought up to a boil and then lowered to a nice simmer. You can see our bagel puffed up just a little bit, and we're going to drop it in here. With these size bagels, you want to cook it for about a minute on each side and then flip. If you have a slotted spoon or like a large spider, that probably works best. I kind of work with a combo of a slotted spatula looking thing and a wooden spoon just to flip them. And there you can see they're not perfectly round on the bottom, but it really doesn't affect anything. And after a minute on each side, I'll take these boys out of their jacuzzi, and it's time for the little guys to go in. The exact same process. They're a little bit smaller, so I didn't do it for quite as long on each side. I probably went from about 35 to 40 seconds on each side. First on one side, flipped it, another 30-40 seconds, and then took them out. And when you take them out, you want to have something ready that can let the moisture pass through. So if you have like a wired rack on a baking sheet like I do, that's absolutely perfect. But just do it on something to where it's not going to be sitting in its own liquid. But yeah, really quick poach in the water, and they come out with this really weird, spongy, alien-like texture. It's a very unique texture, but it's a really quick process. But the boiling is a huge part of it. Another huge part of it is the egg wash, which we're going to beat an egg here. And you really want to be very, very thorough with this. You want to get every crevice, every crack, the top, the bottom, all over the place, because not only does it affect the flavor, it affects the appearance, it affects the texture. Really important process. You don't want to skip this, and you want to be really generous with your egg wash. Now here is where you could top them. Now that they're nice and sticky, you can put your favorite toppings on them and slide them onto a baking sheet. I only topped this one with this roasted garlic red pepper seasoning, and I wish I had topped more. This was kind of an experiment for me, but it came out smelling really good, looking really good, and tasting even better. And this is what they look like before they go into an oven, and you can see what they look like after they come out. I baked these at 375 for about 15 minutes for the little guys and closer to 20 minutes for the big guys. They have a really awesome texture. They're still soft, squishy. They're the perfect bagel texture. They got that nice crispness on the outside, and even on the bottom where it's not perfect, those imperfections came out looking not perfect, but I still really liked the way it came out, and I didn't care that they weren't perfect. Now, since we're making bagel bites, it's time for our tomato sauce. Very quickly, we're going to saute in olive oil, onion, garlic, herbs. If you have fresh, those are always better. I'd recommend basil and oregano, and then you want to throw in your pureed, crushed tomatoes, whatever you have. Tomato sauce is so simple. You just want to use good ingredients and let it go low and slow for as long as possible. Better ingredients, better sauce, Papa Tony's. Yeah. And back to our bagel bites. It's time to assemble. And I've heard that one of the biggest injuries is from cutting your fingers on bagels, and that's why I'm just showing this. Just be careful. Just keep your fingers tucked. So if they're not out and they're tucked, you have really no chance of cutting them. And just go slow and move the bagel around. You can even put your knuckles on top so your fingers aren't exposed. But I definitely recommend using a serrated blade when you're cutting any kind of bread. It'll make it a lot easier. And just be careful. I don't want you cutting your fingers because you're making homemade bagel bites. But let's throw these on a baking sheet, give them a spritz of oil spray, and then top them with our tomato sauce liberally, but nothing crazy. You don't want them falling over the sides, but definitely enough for each one. And then we're going to sprinkle on some fresh grated mozzarella cheese over top. Now it's time for our pepperoni. I'm using turkey pepperoni. If it looks a little bit funky to you, that's why. I just prefer the turkey pepperoni for a couple different reasons, but you'll see the finished product. Use the regular stuff, use this, use whatever you have, go crazy. And now I'm just topping them with a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and these bad boys are ready for the broiler. I'm going to broil them on high, very quickly, very high. Do not walk away during this part, and they come out looking something like this. I was super happy with these. They have a nice golden crust around the bagel. It has the perfect crunch to the outside, but still kind of soft and chewy in the center. The cheese melted perfectly, the pepperoni crisp up just right, and they just married together so beautifully after just a couple minutes under the broiler. Again, just keep your eye on them, don't walk away, and they'll look something like this. They smell amazing, and it's time to try one of these suckers, and they did not disappoint. It just, you can see the sauce doesn't get like into the bagel to make it soggy, it just stays nice on top, and the bagel still keeps its integrity perfectly, but those toppings just complement it so well. Tastes like pizza on a bagel, but in the best way you could think of. Highly recommend this, super easy to do. You can customize it to put whatever you want on top of your bagels, but yeah, these came out really good. So good that I kept wanting to make more things with bagels, and one of my favorite things to eat is an egg bagel sandwich. And for this one, I'm using the seasoned bagel. You can see not only does it look really cool, but it smells awesome and adds nice flavor to it with that seasoning on top. I'm going to grab a beefsteak tomato, take the core out of it, and slice it not too thin, but thick enough to hold up. And I also have an avocado on hand, which I'm going to destem and just slice. Just be very careful with this. Keep it on the cutting board if you're not comfortable cutting it in your hands so you don't hurt yourself. Any kind of cheese would work. I have pepper jack and I'm not afraid to use it, so I'm going to slice it up nice and thin. Then I have some good quality turkey breast, which I'm going to throw in a couple slices, and an egg. And unless you want to eat your egg raw, I suggest frying in a pan. If you like it really runny, I would just leave it sunny side up and not even flip it, because we're going to continue in the oven, but I'm just hitting it with a little bit of salt and pepper. I'm going to flip it, and as soon as I flip it, I'm going to put cheese on top, not to melt it, but just to kind of make them cohesive, because it's going to continue melting in the oven. So on a aluminum foil baking sheet, give a little spritz to the bagel, throw on your turkey or whatever you're using, and then I put the fried egg right on top with the cheese on top of that, tomatoes on the other side with the avocado on top, which I'm going to season with some fresh cracked black pepper and a little bit of sea salt. And I'm going to drizzle just a little bit of good quality olive oil over the top just to help it with the roasting. And this is ready for the oven. I'm going to broil it on super high, just get everything melted. It comes out looking like this, and then it's time to assemble this. And you can see this thing came out like a beefy boy. It's fat, it's thick. I mean, it's still a healthy sandwich, but it's a very filling, fat bagel in all the best ways. It sucks when you go to these places and spend $10 for a thin bagel sandwich and a cup of coffee. This one, you're going to get your money's worth on, and you can put whatever you like. You can make it completely vegetarian or customize it to whatever you have in your fridge or whatever you like. This thing got a little bit messy, and I absolutely loved it. Again, I'm using a serrated knife just to cut right down the middle. You don't have to go as crazy as me. This thing was, packed full of flavor and toppings, and I get a kind of sloppy, messy, but delicious cross-section. The egg came out perfect. It was still runny, but not to where it's like messy and all over the place, at least for me. And you can see I'm like Frankenstein, and this is my creation, my monster, my beautiful, delicious bagel monster, and I enjoyed every single bite of this. But I also think it's kind of gross to watch people eat, so I will spare you that and wrap up the video here. But I highly suggest that you try making your own homemade fresh bagels, a bagel sandwich, Bagel Bites. They all come out really nice, much easier than you probably think. So try it, let me know what you think, and I hope you enjoy.